This is Mark Tim with Ziglar Family, and this is the end of the week here. Depending on when you're watching this, really doesn't matter, but it's the end of the week here for me, and this is definitely a highlight of my week because I get to hang out with. I'm going to say this. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Jason and Allie were two of the very first people that I ever really connected with electronically when I started sharing my message of family. And, because I believe, Jason, that we connected through my blog, marktim.com, right?
Yeah. Well, I heard you interviewed on the Ziglar podcast.
Nice.
Then you referenced your ebook and you talked about your running your business and you seem to have a good handle on it. But at home, it was a little more frantic. And then you had written that ebook, and I got it right away and downloaded it. And we started family meetings shortly after that, and then you transitioned to the Ziglar Family, I guess, and that's
so. For everybody watching this, Jason's being very kind because if I remember correctly, things were more than a little frantic at home. And so they were chaotic to say the least. And so it definitely took some time for us to get intentional as parents, and that's what you're talking about. So it's been a couple years. Then we go back a couple years, and so but this is the first time that we got to meet, albeit electronically. But we're getting to connect with each other, hang out with each other. And that's really the whole point of this, is for us to get to know you and your family and the journey that your family's been on. So that being said, I'm going to throw it right back to you. And I want you to just tell us about yourself. Tell us about your family.
Go for it.
I'm Allison. I'm Jason's wife. And we've been married for 13 years, and we have 7 children, which usually when you say that, people right away kind of give you the look like, wow, you have 7 children. How do you do it? You get all those questions right away.
Have you ever gotten the look and anyone asked you, have you figured out how that's happening? I mean, because
yeah, like you guys should get a TV, or you guys the water you live, or
right. So, okay, back to you, Allie.
That's okay.
I can relate. So
we have a busy household. Everybody is 11 and under, and our youngest 2 are twins. So that's one of the things that definitely put a kink in our family life, was having 2 babies at the same time. But we're just working through that, and we're loving life right now.
So Allie stays home with the kids. I work for my uncles in the family business. We're a manufacturer of agricultural equipment. And Allie is home with the kids. We homeschool them. And about 3 or 4 years ago, we bought a house out in the country, an old farmhouse, and on about an acre. That was kind of a dream of ours. We'd actually been driving by that house for 5 years or so, and saw it came up for sale. So it's a bit of a fixer-upper, but we got some chickens and rabbits, and the kids, we built a tree house. They can run around. We live in the middle of a 100-acre field. We don't own the field. We just own 1 acre, but we're surrounded by it.
That's nice, though. That's all right.
The boys ride bikes, and
yeah, it's fun.
We just love it. I said to someone, well, it was Canadian Thanksgiving last weekend, so we were talking about what we're thankful for, and I said, I'm just thankful for where we live. Like, the kids can run around, and I look out my window, I see wide open skies, and to me, it's like paradise. So
beautiful. We
love it.
Well, we probably should have mentioned that you're from Canada, right?
Yes, maybe you've heard that so far.
Yeah, I just spent the last 3 days with a business associate of mine that's from Toronto.
Okay.
So he was talking about Thanksgiving as well. So Canadian Thanksgiving, and some of the people watching this may not realize that your guys' Thanksgiving was last weekend.
Yeah.
So your Thanksgiving is in October instead of November. So anyway, that's super cool. And okay, I've got a good mental picture of as good as I can get of the family 11 and under. And gosh, do you have a family picture handy that one of you guys can grab just to hold it up or something?
I have one on my phone, but we're using my phone.
No, don't use your phone. Okay. I just love to get that picture of 11 and under, 7 kids. That's awesome. All right, maybe we'll use it when we. If
you put it live, I think you probably have a digital one.
I think we do. So that'll be cool. So we talked about how, Jason, you and I connected, but that was before Ziglar Family. Okay. So we connected through marktim.com. We connected through the ebook. And then as a result of that, I started doing more stuff with the Ziglar company, and then started Ziglar Family. And so my question to you is that you obviously came from that original blog over to Ziglar Family. What was it about Ziglar Family that just kind of originally resonated with you about the community? Because, the coolest thing about spending time with you guys is, like, you're some of the earliest people that connected with me, but you're also some of the earliest members of Ziglar Family. So Ziglar Family now has over 50,000 families involved in Ziglar Family. All right. But you guys I'm going to call you a founding family. How's that? So as a founding family, all right. So as a founding family, what resonates with you about the community?
So what we've found is that, I'm always listening to podcasts and trying to find different practical being the key word, practical tools on how to really make our family great. I lived in Texas 17 years ago for 2 years, and a friend of mine there named Heath, he really had a vision to be a great father, and he had started a club called Trailer Club, and the vision was to learn. At that point, a lot of us were just sons, but how can we be better sons and prepare to be great husbands and great fathers? So since Heath kind of planted that vision in me, I'm always looking for tools and resources that are useful. So the Ziglar Family resources that kind of we've plugged into and that resonated. We did the first 7-day challenge there. It was, I don't know, a year ago, or anyways, we did that. And so we watched those videos, and we did so I am a big fan of the Ziglar Wheel of Life. I'm in a mastermind group with 3 other guys, and we've been using that for setting our annual goals for a few years. And we used the Family Wheel of Life tool, again, a practical tool. And we did it with all our kids, I think, around the kitchen table, and they all had kind of colored in their wheels to see where we rated in the different areas. Yeah. And it just created a resource that we could work around with our family, and it was something that we could try and get all the kids involved with. It wasn't just me telling them something or Allie telling them something. And watching some of those family challenge videos, we did the love languages with the kids, and it just created discussion and helped us to grow as a family, but also instill a bit of a vision of where we want to go.
So how many of the love languages were represented in your family? Did you have all of them? All 5?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That was like a year ago.
Is it bad if I don't remember?
So we did
it, and we were babysitting.
You were what?
Well, we were babysitting our nephews and nieces at the time. So there were actually,
we did it with like
10 or 11 kids that were doing it. So I don't know who's ended up being what. It was a big
So we've got 6 kids, and so my wife and I, 6 kids, and we have all 5 love languages represented in our family. And it was really, really telling because, you love like you think, that you want loved. And so recognizing that other children, other people have different languages, they can't hear you otherwise. So that, I thought it was one of the most powerful things in the 7-day challenge as well. I encourage every family to do it. I'm so glad that you guys did it. And I'm so glad that you involved your family in the 7-day challenge, because that's one of the things that we really aspire to at Ziglar Family, is to create resources, not just for husband and wife or mom and dad, but for the whole family. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
So I want to shift, because so you're a founding family. You've connected with Ziglar Family. You've been a Zig fan. You did the 7D challenge. I mean, you guys are all in. And so I want to ask you a question about your family, and I want to know what you would consider, like, what are you most proud of about your family?
Okay. We talked about this a little bit. Something that recently happened, and is we kind of performed as a family at our church for a big anniversary gala. Our church had its 20th anniversary, and they asked us to do a song for it. So I played drums, and the kids are all learning different instruments and stuff. Piano, they're mostly learning piano. But anyways, we had just done, probably 4 or 5 years ago, our neighbors had a talent show. And so our family did a song, I think, from The Sound of Music at the talent show.
Yeah.
Somehow someone from our church heard about it. And then we ended up doing something on Father's Day a couple of years ago. We sang, I think, the same song from The Sound of Music. Anyways, and then they asked us again to do one a few weeks ago at the gala. So it was just neat because all the kids got involved. Florence was playing drums. Allie played keys, and the boys, Justice is only 3, but he had a little shaker. So we drew a square with some tape on the stage for him. We said, okay, Justice, this is your square. You stay here and you play your shaker. And so he was all excited about his square, and he had a little shaker that he played at 3 years old.
Yeah.
And the kids all got involved. And so that was just a proud moment for me. We've seen a couple kind of family performers, and one of the things one of the dads says was, the example he used, if you just play catch with your son in the backyard all the time, he's never getting in the game. He's going to get bored of that. But if you're trying to develop gifts in your children, they need to get in the game. So they need to be in competitions or performing in front of people. And we're not trying to make it like, look at us, we're so great, because we're far from perfect. And, on Thanksgiving, our 5-year-old boy had a big tantrum because he wasn't the first in line to have a lollipop from my mom. And so, yeah, there's piles of laundry everywhere. So we're not trying to say how great we are, but just to kind of help our kids be exposed to things where they can use their gifts and kind of out of the ordinary things, but to kind of push them and challenge them a little bit and get them in the game in whatever aspect that for them is music. So.
I don't know if this just kind of spontaneously came to you, but it's really great advice to get in the game. I use an analogy a lot that most people stand around the outside of the pool and they're always putting their foot in. Is it too warm? Is it too hot? I'm not going to swim because it's too cold. I'm not going to swim because it's too warm. I don't know how deep it is, but sometimes you just got to get in the game. Sometimes you just got to jump in the pool and trust that you can get to the other side.
Yeah.
And, so Zig Ziglar used to tell a story about this Texas farmer and a guy who pushed this guy in the pool, and he ends up on the other side. I mean, he tells this great story, but he just reminded me about that you just got to get in the game. And so I commend you for that, because I'm sure that of 7 kids, some of them are like, no, I don't want to do that. You guys go ahead. No, I don't want to. But when they're done, I bet none of them said, gosh, that was, terrible. Man, I can't believe you made me do that. They're probably all like, wow, that was so much fun. When are we going to do that again?
Yeah.
And so sometimes, in the spirit of being a messy family, and we're a very messy family, we sometimes are like, well, if they don't want to do it, we shouldn't really push them. But the fact is that kids don't know what they don't know,
Right.
and they don't know what it's like to be in the game because they haven't been in the game. And it's our job to push them in sometimes and be there to make sure that if they have trouble getting to the other side of the pool, or if they struggle, we can encourage them, but not necessarily, just hover over them so they don't experience anything. So I love what you're doing. keep doing it, keep pushing them. And I love this whole idea of get in the game. And I think every family watching this is going to appreciate that. So any other wins that you want to share? Because wins or challenges, I'm gonna let you go both sides. Like if you have another win you want to share it. If you've got another challenge, maybe one of your biggest challenges that you're struggling with, please share it too.
Okay, well, let me start with one more win, because I think it has been a key and it's really actionable again. So a few years ago, well, this is probably 6 or 7 years ago, I read a book by Ron Luce. I actually have it here. I'll just hold that up. You can see it. This book is called Recreate by Ron Luce, and it's how to create a culture in your house or in your home. There's my Canadian coming out. I'm noticing it now. How to create a culture in your home stronger than the culture deceiving your kids. And so he challenges families to come up with core values. And so I just looked at this morning, but even in the front of the book, I had kind of, Allie and I talked and kind of sketched out what potentially our core values were. And so then we came up with that, and kind of like what you talked about in your ebook of a family brand, is we came up with our core values, and then I had a graphic artist work with me, a friend of mine, and we created a family crest, because I couldn't find it for my family.
Yeah.
And we incorporated our core values. Here, I have that here too. I'll show you that.
Oh man, you're making my day. That is so awesome. So you've got your core values, you've got your family crest, and you know what's cool is that when we teach this in our Families That Win course, and I talk about it in the ebook, but so many families don't know where they're going. They have no target. They don't have a gyroscope. They don't have a true north. And your family values, and even now your crest, becomes your true north, because as families, we get all dizzy, like we're spinning around in chaos and craziness and activities and work and school, and we get all twisted around. And sometimes we forget what our true north is, which is, what is our purpose as a family? Where are we going as a family? And what your family values do for you and your crest is they become your true north. It's like when you get really dizzy, it's like, wait a minute. What's the purpose of our family? Yeah. Because I believe that every family was created on purpose, and that my family's purpose is different than yours. So you can't have my purpose. All right, because your family was created for your purpose, and your values really help you define, what that purpose is and that true north. So I just want to go on record and say, I think that's super cool. I'm really proud of you guys. And I think your kids later are going to be, you're establishing a foundation that you can come back to at any time when they're struggling and they're looking at the world saying, are we doing it? What should we be doing? You can always go back to those values and say, well, hey, you know what? Let's just go back and see what our family stands for and what we're about. And then we can put it through that filter. And if it doesn't fit in that filter, then we can say, yeah, no, that's probably not something we're going to do as a family because it doesn't fit our core values, versus saying, I don't want you to do that, or I think that's a bad idea, or, then you're kind of, you're kind of like, well, you're just crazy dad or crazy mom, and and the world says we should do that. But then you say, wait a minute, we have a set of values as a family. Let's put it through that filter. So love it, love it, love it. All right, so that's a huge win. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have a challenge? Is there something you guys are struggling with?
Yeah. So
What?
I think one of the biggest. Oh, do you have something in mind?
Well,
go ahead. You go.
I don't know, because we talked about having the twins. So
yeah.
I think having two babies was a hard time for us. At the beginning, you have these two little babies that just need mommy all the time. And since I felt like they needed me all the time, I didn't have any time for anybody else. We have 5 other kids that want mom. And I'm so busy, I want all of his time to help me with the babies. And it just felt like things got really out of order for a long time. Like everybody went to bed late, right? Like 10 o'clock, my 3-year-old's going to bed every night because we're feeding babies or changing babies or dinner everywhere. And it's gotten easier since the very beginning, but I really like, structure to my day and everything at certain times. And it's not like that anymore.
Man, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. My kids are all teenagers, so I'm out of that feed the baby. But man, I can see how that would be so exhausting. So how did you keep sanity or just keep perspective, about your family in that just super, super crazy time?
Well, I think, one thing, I prayed a lot.
Good. That's awesome.
And we just kept thinking how special it was that we even had twins. We have identical twin girls. And it makes me a little teary because it is so special. We think, who else, other people have twins, but, God gave us these two babies, and this is so special for us and so important. And they're just going to be so little and so needy for a little bit of time, and just trying to enjoy that time as much as we could, and get everybody else to enjoy it too. They did anyways because it was pretty neat that we had two babies.
Yeah.
So everybody thought it was great. So that kind of helped.
Really, I tell people we thought it would be double the work, but it was like infinity the work.
Yeah, we thought, it'll just be like having two babies, but it's really like having four babies.
So I can envision your prayer. God, you say very clearly that you'll never give us more than we can handle. I believe that I'm going to put you to that test. And and so somehow I got to believe that I can handle this, but anyway, this is so interesting. So people ask us, on the six front, all of a sudden they don't make 8-seater vehicles, like normal vehicles that have 8 seats. So all of a sudden you went from, boom, you bumped out of that traditional 8-seater SUV or minivan.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
we're still taking 2 vehicles everywhere.
Wow.
There's our challenge. So this is a real practical one. So we had bought a van, an 8-seater van, about a year before the twins came. I'm like, good, this will last us. We're having another baby, no problem.
Yeah,
and
no
Alex
problem.
is having twins, and the first thing I think is, God, now our van is obsolete.
Yep. That is exactly right. I'm thinking that.
But anyways, that is a challenge. And so we have a Honda Civic and we have a minivan, and they're both older vehicles. And so that's been a big challenge. And we were working hard, and we had saved up almost enough to buy a van. We wanted to buy a 4 or 5-year-old van, and we talked about it. And then we felt like the wise thing to do would be to pay off our debt with that. Now we still have a mortgage, but we had some debt outside of our mortgage. So Allie actually had to convince me a little bit, because I was like, let's buy a van. We got it. And she said, well, the wise thing would probably be to pay off our debt. So we took all of our van savings that we'd saved up for like a year and a half, and in the spring we paid off all of our debt. And so we're kind of starting over, saving up for a van again. But Allie said, hey, we have 2 vehicles. Some people don't have any vehicles. So God's meeting our needs. We can get where we need to go as a family. It's not convenient, and I really don't like it. But hey, there's people in a million times worse situation than us. So let's be thankful for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's a powerful story. I'm glad you guys shared that, because that sometimes it's hard to make those decisions, and so that's awesome. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Jason, because obviously Allie got emotional even talking about it, and it had to be a really tough time for her and the craziness and stuff. And then she says, yeah, and I wanted your time. How'd you handle that? Being working and then trying to really support Allie. How did you keep your sanity and perspective on being her husband, dad, and provider. It's a tough spot. I mean, Allie's got a really tough job, and I think everybody can relate to that, but it's not easy for you too. How'd you keep it together?
So really, I just kept thinking about patience. Like I said to someone the other day, like I used to not be a patient guy, and I'm still not a patient guy, but after having some kids, I've certainly developed patience. I don't just yell, Sterling, go get your shoes on. I'll now just say, okay, let's get your shoes on. And instead of escalating the event, I've tried to just keep it. And Ali has said it to me too, if you say no to the kids or do something, just do it with a smile on your face so we don't escalate this to the next level.
Nice.
But it was just really, again, being grateful and really consciously really thinking, okay, I need to be patient here. And our babies weren't eating really good when they were first young either. So we had like a tiny little straw. We had to feed them out of a bottle. And so we would just sit on our bed for like hours at a time at night, each holding a baby with a tiny straw and a little thing trying to feed them. And it was just a big test of my patience. But, I don't know. Again, prayed a lot and just kept keeping it in perspective. Also thinking that this isn't going to be forever, right?
No, right. Well, it looks like you passed. Looks like you passed the test, and looks like you're being a good example for your kids too in that patience area. So, all right, we've reached the time in our time together where I'm going to ask each of you to really think of your journey, what you've learned in Ziglar Family, what you've learned as a family. You've been married 13 years. You have a lot of kids. So you've got this wisdom. And, and there's a lot of families that are going to be watching this. And so I'd like for each of you to give your number one most important piece of advice that you would give to the families out there that are watching this.
Hold on a minute.
Okay, well, I'll start.
Okay.
All right.
I have a couple. First of all, it comes back to the core values again. And I would say almost every day it comes up, not just from Allie and me, but from the kids too. Our 10-year-old, she got baptized a few weeks ago. She was really scared to do it, and we had the conversation. She wanted to do it, but when the time came, she was scared. And we said, courage is one of our core values. Feel the fear, but do it anyways. And she went through and did it. And then I kind of afterwards talked to her because a couple of years ago, she was supposed to sing at a wedding with her sisters, and she backed out and she was scared. And I said to her, you had courage this time and did it. And how did you feel afterwards? And she said, I felt great. And I said, how did you feel after the wedding when you were afraid to stand up and sing and you didn't do it? She said, I felt bad. So we're able to contradict or show that dynamic between those two things and say, hey, we came back to courage again. Courage is one of our core values. And so driving back to those core values, it provides an anchor, like you just said. And I love that. Keep going. Is what my friend Heath told me 17 years ago, is what one man could do, another man can do. So if Mark can have a great family, if my dad could be a great dad, if I know guys that are great husbands and great fathers, I can learn from them. I can be challenged by them. What one man can do, another man can do. You just have to change. If you're not doing it now, change. Dave Ramsey says, change. If you're not right, just change. So change, and what one man can do, hey, if we can do it, you can do it.
It made me think of something, Jason, and because I love what you're saying. It gives me chills to hear you say that. I was at a guy that's super successful in business, and he said the biggest mistake that people make in business is they try to innovate before they emulate. And I was thinking about this, and you guys all know my platform. You know that I believe I was put on this earth that everything I've ever learned in business, everything I've ever learned as an entrepreneur was not to have business success. It was to bring it home to my family. So I'm sitting there, and there's all these people going, yeah, emulate before you innovate. And they're all thinking about their business. And I'm going, whoa, this is powerful for family. And it's exactly what you just said, Jason. We all too often feel like, well, we're going to be our own thing and we're going to do our own thing and we're not going to be like anybody else, that's flawed thinking. We need to emulate before we innovate. We need to find people that have done it well, find people that we look up to, find people that we respect, emulate what made them respectable, emulate what made them a good family, a successful family. Then we can innovate. But we start off trying to innovate and it doesn't work, and we kind of get mirrored in the messiness, and it's like, why isn't this working? Because we didn't emulate the people that God put in our lives that we can follow to, to really get off on the right path. So that's what I hear you saying as well, is that you've got lots of examples in your life that you can emulate, and you're doing it. And it's so much more powerful to emulate first and then innovate. So that's what I heard you say. And I love the return to core values. Okay. Returning to core values. So powerful. All right, Allie, you got something for us?
Well, it's kind of the same, going back to things that you always do as a family. This is, I guess, is from a mother's perspective, training up your children all day, because my kids are around me all day. So we go through everything together. And it's nice to have, I don't specifically go back to our core values a lot, but we have little questions or sayings, things that we always say that help us get through little problems in the day. Like we say things like, you have to do the right thing even when it's hard, right? So so-and-so doesn't want to apologize to so-and-so, but it's the right thing to do. Just do the right thing even though it's hard. And you can see their little wheels kind of going. Or, another thing that I started asking them was, how are you showing love right now? And then all of a sudden they just go, I'm not showing love. And that just kind of helps with your family atmosphere in your home, like just how your family's getting along, because we want everybody to get along. Like brothers and sisters aren't made to be fighting and quarreling with dad or mom or each other, right? We just want to love each other. So when we start thinking of other people and not ourselves, that helps us to just put each other first and love each other. And I think that really helps with listening to each other and obeying dad or mom and thinking about where we want to go and what we want to do. Just kind of helps us to not be at odds with each other. I don't know.
I like it. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I think everybody can gather that. That's really cool. So I love it. I love your advice. And I just love my time with you guys. You guys are awesome. So there's so much that families can learn from you. And so you've imparted your wisdom on the world, and other families are going to grow and thrive because of it. And so let's wrap this up. Let's wrap up our time together with what's next for your family. What are some goals that maybe you've set or that you're working towards, or just something that you've got out there that you're like, this is where our family's going, that you want to share? I'm just curious, because I've got a really great picture of like your family and where you've come from and some of the challenges and the wins. So what's the future look like for the Wheelings?
So one of the practical, obvious things is we're saving up for a van. So I'll just plug another book here that I just read by Pat Lancioni, The 3 Questions for a Frantic Family. And he follows a similar model to what you did, Mark. He's a business consultant. So one of the things he plugs in the book is have a scoreboard for your family with whatever your rallying cry or your short-term goal is. So our short-term goal is saving up for a van. So I just took a piece of Bristol board the other day and drew out a terrible-looking van, and we call it our vanometer, and we just track on it how much we've saved towards getting to our van. So that's one thing that's kind of short-term that we're working on. But also we just in our family meeting this week, we talked about being a settler or a survivor or significance, which came out of, I think, lesson 4 in module 1 of the Families That Win curriculum.
I love it.
We talked about being significant. So what we did was I said to the kids, imagine we're 80 years in the future and you're having Thanksgiving weekend and your family's coming over to your house and you're the grandmother or grandfather me and mom are out. We're dead. And anyways, then Allie started crying. Then the girls started crying. Anyways, that baby wasn't good. But to try and get our family to a place of significance where they're thinking about the future, and we're talking to them about someday you're going to be a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandfather, you know, start thinking about that, because you can be preparing yourself for that day down the road.
And
so
it was
short-term, long-term, that's
good.
long-term.
That was good to do, because you could see all their kids were thinking. They all had to answer something. What would they say at their family Thanksgiving in 80 years? Or what would be the most important thing they would want to tell their grandchildren in 60 years or 80 years? And so we could hear what they'd all say a little something. And it's just interesting to see what's important to them now that they would tell their kids about. And I think that was good. I think it's something we'll keep doing at different events or different family meetings or something. Like what do you see happening in the future?
So in the future is Thanksgiving 2097. I guess that's the future we're looking for.
And I did want to say something about our vanometer. I think it's good to share some of the struggles that your family is going with your kids. Like, we're saving for this van, but we use the money to pay off this debt. Now we're starting again. And I actually think one of our kids gave me like $4 to go to the van fund, right?
Wow.
So we have this van. They get to color, right? They're going to color all the little levels going up. So they're involved in knowing it's not just like, surprise, now we have a new van. You see mom and dad with some struggles sometimes and how we're going to get through it. And they want to help. And I think that helps you to come together as a family too. It's not just mom and dad's problem. We're a family and we're all going to try and chip in and get this goal accomplished.
Cool. I love it. All right. You know what? That's a great place to end. Can I just say how much I appreciate Jason, you and Allie. You guys are an awesome family. It's really humbling to know that we got started together a couple years ago. You're one of the first people to connect with my own personal blog, and you followed over here. So I said it tongue in cheek, but I really mean it. You guys are truly one of the founding families of Ziglar family, and I want to stay connected and follow you on the journey, and and just say that keep it up, keep following Zig Ziglar's time-tested, proven wisdom, and don't be afraid to continue to reach out and help other families. You got a lot to share. I love the nuggets you delivered of getting the game and your core values. And Allie, you've got a lot to share to moms out there that are on the same journey as you too. So that's my encouragement to the two of you is let this be the beginning of your sharing with other families, not an event. So let's make this a journey, okay?
Thanks, Mark.